Happy New Year, everybody. That's right. The new year is upon us. It is January... No, today's the 31st. Sorry, it's New Year's Eve. I just want to say thank you for all of your guys' support this year. It meant a lot to me. It means a lot to me. Especially on this year. I think this is like, I don't know, year 3 or 4 of doing this. I got almost 200 videos out there. And this year was almost the year that I ended this. So I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the comments and the sharing, all of that. I just want to say thank you. So let's get into it. I can honestly say this go around, I'm getting very tired of the issues I'm having with this car and building it this time. This time cost me a lot of money. It's costing me a lot of time and a lot of aggravation. So I do believe that this will be the last rendition of this car. I know everybody's like, yeah, until next November. Yeah. Barring any major problems with this car in 2022, next winter, this thing will get just put under a cover, and I'm just going to build another car. This car is on the verge of being a race car. Like, I've already gone 857 with it, and I think every day, what am I going to do once all the tracks around here, you know, if I'm going 780s with the freaking thing, 10 point, they're gonna kick me out eventually. So I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but I have gone 850s with this thing already the last time out. So next year will definitely be something different, a different car, whether I decide to turn this into a full race car, which I really don't want to do, but I would do that if I had a 600-ish horsepower street car. Like, I'm talking, I would love to find a white GT and just stick like a freaking 75mm turbo on a stock LS, make 600 horsepower, no cage, you know, just subframe connectors and, you know, some suspension work, more of like a pro touring car ish, because I would never go independent rear suspension. That's just too much money and work. And I would stay away from like the cage. Maybe like, you know, one of them 4-point roll bars just to be safe in case I ever rolled this stupid thing. But something very, very simple like that. Then I would probably put like a 25.3 in this, and heat and AC would be gone, and it would just become a full-blown race car if I had a fun street car. So who knows? Maybe next winter we build a fun street car. In 2023, this goes to a full race car. Nobody knows what the future is going to hold in this garage. I still have the vert. I really haven't worked on it, but I have just been collecting parts for it. So that is not just a scrapped project. I mean, it obviously needs a lot of work, but I am just continually getting stuff here or there. I'm not going any crazy. Like I said, that car won't be crazy. That car is going to be a simple cam LS with a 4L80. Back to we're just jumping around here, because of parts delays, parts mess ups, parts changes, this, that, and the third. I have manifolds on the way. Those should be here mid next week, so they might make it into this video. Since I really am just waiting, I'm going to try to get odds and ends done. I have like a bunch of interior stuff. I got to tear the whole interior out of the car. I got to fix a spot in the floor. I got to cut and weld a spot in the floor. And I want to heat barrier all that. I talked about it previously with the drag week stuff. What we're going to start today is fixing up this wiring harness from Holley. So I ordered a bunch of pins to be able to shorten these wires. My intercooler's in here. Can't really have an intake. I mean, you can have an intake air temperature sensor in here, but you're not going to know what it does down here. Now, as you can see, it's in between the runners. Oh, this light's amazing. Yeah, that works out well. So you can see it's in between the runners. I drilled and tapped the base here for 3/8. This is a Rife intake air temp sensor, which is by far the best sensor that you can buy, just plug and play like this. And that is the reason, because on these manifolds, I have read that people are noticing that, or in the front, you know, because they got like the bungs in the back here, you could thread in a sensor, or people put them in the front, drill and tap, saying that there's data to be shown that air is getting trapped front and rear, and it's just being in a pocket, so you don't get an accurate reading. And what I mean by that is people will say, oh, I've changed pumps, I've changed the size of lines, I've added 25 bags of ice, 50-degree day, it stays 150 degrees, or it stays 170 degrees. If you do all of that, and that thing doesn't change temperature, it's every single pass, no matter what you do, it's 170 degrees, that's an air issue. That's a sensor location issue. You know, if you go from just water, you know, outside temp water, 70 degrees, to 30, 40-degree water because you stuck 10 bags in your 5-gallon icebox and it's still the same temperature, that's not a cooler issue. That is your temperature sensor being in a dead air area, and it's just staying there. So I talked to a couple of people about this, and we decided to go in between the runners, right in the middle. And they see this seems to be the most accurate. You know, you got air coming down and dividing in both runners, and this thing sticks in pretty good. If it wasn't bolted in, I'd show you. This was my little electrical box that I bought on Drag Week with me, in case I needed anything. So we got these. All right. So you know, you got all your connector, your pins, your lock, the whole nine. Put that down here before I lose everything. And we're gonna take our boot as well. This is what I'm talking about with this build this time, right? Hold on, go down, go down. I'm like, yeah, that looks great right there. Tucks the sensor in nice, beautiful. You know, I come out here with the bottom of the fuel line. Well, I can't win. This right here is the Motion Raceworks Share Fab cable bracket. And Motion Raceworks love to anodize shit black. Everything's black. So this is for the throttle cable bracket for this. Guess where it mounts? Right there, right in front of the sensor. So I have to rotate. I was like, oh, I'll rotate it up. Oh. I have to rotate it completely up. It's like, god damn. Oh yeah, we're just rambling now. Anyway, so I'm going to change the connector out. I'm going to cut the wires down, and then I'll actually finish them off because it has a different lock. I'll show you. So this has the lock on the back. All right, this one's missing a piece. It fell out, God only knows when. Holley. And we'll take ours that's lipped. All right. It's the same dang thing. Same connector. And we'll have the nice boot to finish it out. Same with the TPS too. Because that's the same exact connector as the as pressure transducers. You got the intake manifold off. You can see everything's cut now. Everything's cut to length. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, this is back to the Holley factory loom where it starts to branch off for grounds and everything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my heat shrink here, come to about here with the heat shrink, and this will be my first branch for my air intake temp. So it's going to be something like that. All right, and then I will continue on, and we will branch out for my odd ignition coils. Branch out there, follow it down, fuel pump, organize these a little bit now that all the ends are cut. Coolant, TPS, IAC. You know, it's going to all branch out. They're going to, you know, it's going to be in a small bundle until they need to branch out. Alright, we're moving right along. I got some of the harness done. Let's see, IAC, TPS. Tell me that don't look much better than the Holley. It's not fully shrunk yet. Intake air temp. I still got to put a piece over this, and terminate them, and then shrink the entire thing. You know, wiring, a lot of people are scared of wiring. And they're really only scared of wiring because they don't know how to do it, which is human nature. But I'm here to tell you that wiring isn't that difficult. Obviously, you need a whole bunch of tools. But I feel like if you're building cars, you should have basic wiring tools anyway. You know, obviously I don't think you should have brakes and benders and all these welders and all that, but you know, basic set of hand tools. You don't have to go crazy $500 pair DMC crimpers if you're a hobbyist. I've gone over some of the wiring tools I've used in the past. You don't need nothing crazy. You can get the same result as those, it just takes more time. Those tools are scaled up for production runs. I mean, you're gonna spend some money buying all the crimpers and cutters and strippers that you need, and heat guns and label makers and all that. Anybody that asks me, because I know someone's gonna ask me, this is the label maker I have. The Dymo Rhino 4200, and it does print on yellow heat shrink, yellow or white. I chose yellow. You gotta step up like another $250, $300 to be able to print white labels on black heat shrink. No. We're working through this, we're getting there. It is time consuming. And you gotta use quality stuff. You can't use cheap Harbor Freight crap, AutoZone wire, AutoZone heat shrink, all that crap. You gotta use good stuff. It's a little bit more money, but the outcome's gonna be 10 times better, I guarantee it. And don't get into this expecting you're gonna build a pro level motorsports grade harness your first time out, because it probably won't even be your 20th time out. But I guarantee if you sit down and you take the time to watch videos and you do some learning, you'll have a better outcome every time you do something. I mean, I still mess up. I'm not a pro. I only wire my car, but like, I have a couple, you know, they're a little bit long right there. I messed up the length. Is it gonna hurt anything? No, it's all visual. But it's tedious. I got probably 2 hours into just that little bit so far. You know, cutting it down, measuring it, seeing where it's gotta go, getting the heat shrink, making the label, terminating it. I mean, I messed up this connector. I messed up one pin 3 times and the second pin twice. So it took 20 minutes just to do this connector because I messed it up, crimping it. Messed up the crimps. Let's go ahead and finish and I'll show you the final product. That's all done. That little project is done. Now, I didn't do the whole harness. I wasn't happy. I'm not happy with the Holley harnesses. They're just not, I mean, they're like $350. You get what you pay for when it comes to these things. But what was happening was so they just use that split loom on it and then they just electrical tape it. Well, over the time, the electrical tape brittle, hard, falls off, and then the split loom starts fraying, so that was driving me crazy. You can see we're all terminated, all labeled up, all right. Came out nice. There's a couple little mistakes I made on it. Like I forgot a piece of heat shrink here to hold these together. So like I did on this one, you can see the heat shrink. I did the same thing here. Remembered it here, forgot it here. But I'm not a professional. And it's obviously just goes back to the Holley split loom back here, which I'm just gonna zip tie back up. One day I will make a flying lead, I will try to make a flying lead harness with, you know, a firewall bulkhead and all the fancy jazz going on. Yeah, you know, eventually I'll do a fully sealed, terminated, potted, heat shrunk, weather resistant, firewall grommet thingy majobber eventually. You can buy the flying lead harness straight from Holley with all the ECU plugs done, and it's like 15 feet of wire. the harness works. I have no issues with it, but aesthetically, I'm not pleased. And the only reason I will try to build one of those fine lead harnesses is just because I want to test my own skills with it. I want to see if I can do it. And I did find something kind of interesting in the harness. So when I clipped the connectors off for the fuel pressure sensor and the TPS, now these are just wired the same way. All these little GT150, I'm pretty sure they're GT150. I'm probably saying it wrong and people are like, you moron. But these are all the same. You know, they're wired all the same. You know, you have, I can't remember off the top of my head because I don't do them enough to remember. You have your 5 volt, you have your 5 volt, you have your signal, and you have your ground. So I'm figuring, right, there's your ground, there's your 5 volt, and there's your signal. So it's a black with a white stripe and orange. And then I get to the TPS, and there's your there's your signal is backwards. I didn't have an issue with it. I've never had an issue with the 2 sensors. Whoa. But you can see, I don't know, I didn't look at any like diagrams. Maybe the TPS is different, but I doubt it. Yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting. I just noticed it taking it apart. But I still never had an issue with it. So I'm really not all that upset. Watch, now I'll have an issue with it. But I made sure I wired them the same exact way those plugs were. That's why I clipped them back a little bit, just so I knew, you know, I didn't have to get into diagrams and all that stuff to be able to do it. That project is done. This will look 1,000 times better. We got a beauty. This will probably be 90 degrees, and this will be 90 degrees. And then I could just 45 this down. I did grind. I think I talked about it. I ground out the ground out some of the runners, so you can run a dash 8 under here. You need to order dash 8 because I don't have any. You need to order a whole lot of fittings and hose. But what I've been doing is, all the money I get, I've been trying to just buy the big dollar stuff, so I get all the big dollar stuff out of the way. Call Delta Pag right now to see if they're open to price out this fan shroud setup. If it's too much money, I'm probably gonna go. Derail has a dual 12-inch one. I had it in the rear mount setup, but they also have a PWM setup you can get, and then it's like soft start and all that stuff, so you wouldn't have the huge inrush of current. That's all going to depend. You know, if the Delta Pag stuff is significantly amount more money, I'm probably going to not. Just for the whole shroud setup from Derail, done, everything, the ECM on it, the whole 9 is like $500. The 2 14-inch Delta Pag fans is $620, but that's without a shroud. So I don't know how much they're going to charge. If they tell me, you know, it's $150 to make a shroud, $200, I might go with the Delta Pag setup custom, because the Delta Pag, they're 2,600 CFM each. So I mean, that's a good 5,200 versus 4,000. I think 4,000 will be enough, but 5,200, I mean, I should never, especially with this big of a radiator, 5,200 CFM. Shit, I'll probably have to keep one fan. You know, the good thing about PWMing is you can have the fan speed to the temperature of the engine. This whole dang bag of freaking High True, and there ain't no damn grape in it. You could, yeah, like I said, so you can put it to the speed, so you don't have your fans running 100% of the time. Alright, we're picking back up a little a little late here as I came down with being positive for the C word. I don't want to say that because, you know, YouTube's algorithm. So last Saturday, I feeling kind of funny after New Year's, and Sunday I woke up and, you know, so be it. And it's taken a bunch out of me. Wasn't deathly sick or anything, but sick enough to where I couldn't do much. The fatigue was the worst. Didn't have a fever or anything like that, but couldn't regulate my body temp. Just a whole bunch of symptoms. Being stuck in the house for a week and not having enough energy to work on the car was pissed me off. So I did work on it like 20-30 minutes a day. That's pretty much all the energy I had for it. You know, it'd be 20-30 minutes and exhausted, have to go sit down for 5-6 hours. But I got the whole interior out. Well, a lot of the interior around, I should say. I got all my wiring's pretty much torn out. It's kind of just thrown around. I've been taking off all the sound deadening crap. If you guys remember, one of the things from Drag Week I said was one of the things from Drag Week was the in-car temperature. You know, at one point I grabbed my temp gun out of the trailer and these floorboards were 120 degrees. One of my winter upgrades was that is not happening again, because if I had AC in the car, it wouldn't have done anything. The floor temp's still 120 plus degrees. So I wasn't too happy with that carpet. So I wanted to get a new carpet anyway. Well, I tore it out. I scraped off all the sound deadening. That took it took me 3 days to get the carpet out, and 4 days and another day to get most of the sound deadening out. The upside to this thing being old was a lot of it came off in big sheets. So I got it just a little warm with my heat gun and get a scraper under there, and it would lift off in big sheets. You know, it wasn't very stubborn. Oh, I got a couple of small spots left, like you could see, like up there by the wiring. There's a couple of small, you know, down over there by the dashboard. Same on that side. But I'm not worried about those till I get the dashboard out. I originally wasn't gonna pull the dashboard out, but I broke the fitting off my heater core on the firewall, so I got no choice. But I'm gonna wait until I get a little bit more of my energy back to pull this dashboard out. It's not a ton of work. It's super easy on this car, especially because all the wiring I did is, it's all bolted to it. So it's literally unbolt the fuse panel from the body, undo a couple, and undo a couple of wires, and this whole thing lifts out. I mean, this is what this is. See it, like, you know, this went down to the relay panel. And while I'm in here, I'm changing a couple of things wiring wise. I'm changing it so when you pull my battery on, the relay board for the arc panel would power up. I quickly wired in my USB chargers, so those were always on if the battery was on. And what I want to be able to do is leave the battery on in the car and not have to worry about draws on it. So I didn't realize on the Arc, someone showed me, they have a little spot, you just pull a jumper wire out and you can put in your 12 volt switched, and it's just key on and off, and the panel turns on and off. So that's going to get wired. I want to be able to start the car with my ignition again. I got 2 new ignition switches on the way. The one in the car failed last year, that's why I went up onto the switch panel. And I bought 2 because backup in case I'm on drag week and it fails. So I'm going to wire the starter back into the ignition. I'm going to wire the fuse panel into accessory, and I'm changing the relays out. I'll show you. So when I originally did this, the problem has just been adding on. So let me get this stuff out of the way here. So I have the Leash Electronics dual 70 amps, single 70 amp things. He makes big ones. He makes a 4, a 6, an 8. I don't know if he makes a 10, but he makes a 12. So I'm gonna get the 8 relay one. I can get away from a lot of this wiring because it only needs one. I can get away a lot of this jumping. Needs one, and it has one harness that comes out, which I'll be able to mount to the board with a Deutsch connector, and then plug all my inputs and outputs, or you know, all the inputs, I'm sorry, because it's going to input out, and then it outputs to whatever accessory. So the inputs into the Deutsch connector, and it's just going to be a lot cleaner and a lot more manageable. And like I said, stuff like this, because this was just all band-aided. So I'm moving these, because this thing stands up in the back of the car. So this sits like this behind the seat. These down here, so originally this was flat, so it worked, but these are down low, and they've gotten out of control, so I'm going to move those to the back side, up high, so it's easy to do my power. And I also have this to mount on the back side. This is my inputs into the ECU. If you're not familiar with these, you should probably get it if you have a Dominator. This is from Mad Racing, and I've gone over this in a previous video, so if you want to know more, go back and look at it. Yeah, and I'm probably changing this out to carbon instead of this ugly aluminum. Which, I mean, I could just paint it, I could powder coat it, I could wrap it, but, you know, you can see all the random holes and crap stuff being moved, and we're just going to redo that. What else? The 40 rows going back. I'm still in the 90-day return window. That's going back. It's just too goddamn big. I can't fit it anywhere. So that's going back, and I'm going to get, they have the same thing just in a 25 row that I'm going to get. And it's about the same size as the 16 loop, whatever the hell that thing is called that was in here. So I'm hoping it works as good, if not better. But since I'm quarantined, I'm not going anywhere right now. That's a lie. I'm on day Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Technically, I'm on day 6. My symptoms are pretty much all subsided except for taste and smell, which are weirdly coming and going. So I can leave. I'm actually going to go down to my job later because all my parts get delivered to my job, and they're all sitting there. So I need stuff to do this weekend since I'm feeling better, way better. And start getting videos out, stuff to be installed, and I ordered some more parts while quarantined and ordered stuff I didn't need, but that is going to be really nice to have. And that's all stuff we're working on. You know, 5 days to get a carpet out and weld up a couple holes. That sea really whooped my butt, boy. It did. It took a lot out of me.